Welcome back, everybody. So today I am going to create chicken and dumplings utilizing pantry items. I recently had a viewer reach out to me on social media and they asked if I could do some recipes or a recipe giving them ideas to use items that they receive in a food donation box. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people globally that are dependent on food pantries, on donations, on their local communities to feed their family. And I completely understand that. So I definitely hope this recipe video will give you ideas how to make a meal stretch. I looked in my own pantry and I had canned chicken, I had canned mixed vegetables, and you know, when you have canned meats or canned goods, especially when you're trying to create something hearty, soup is my go-to idea. I do it even when I'm not filming. And I completely understand, you know, that there are a lot of people reliant on their communities for donations to make it to the next day. I touched on this last year when I sort of shared with you struggle meals, growing up, things that we did just to have a meal. It's not a completely balanced meal. It's not healthy, but you know, that's not what we're doing here. I am trying to give you guys ideas that you can share or that you can utilize yourself to just make a meal stretch and feed many. Definitely, I don't mind at all showing you guys how to do a pantry items to make a meal. Here we go. Okay, so here's what I'm working with. I have 3 cans of chicken and water. I'm gonna drain the water. And actually, I'm gonna be honest, use the water. It probably has seasoning and salt in it, and you can add to it. I mean, again, this is all about survival and using what you have. So trust me, if I needed to use the water in this canned chicken, so be it. But I'm gonna drain mine today. And I also have this can of mixed vegetables. So with this, and here I have my powdered chicken bouillon. You could also use canned chicken broth if you are fortunate enough to have that. That definitely works as well. But this is kind of the pantry items that I'm using. And now I want to go ahead and start the dough for the dumplings. So for the dumplings, I'm going to use 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I have a teaspoon of the chicken bouillon powder, and I have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Here, this is actually margarine, but butter works. If you have shortening, you can add the shortening. Lard, use what you've got, but this is a 1/3 cup. And I'm just gonna, well, I should have mixed the dry ingredients first, but I'm just gonna break this apart with my hand and just mix it into the flour. By the way, you could also use, if you have canned biscuit dough, my paternal grandmother used to do that. She would make chicken and dumplings. She'd boil a big pot, and for her dumplings, she would use canned biscuit dough, and it totally works. And also, if you do not have canned chicken, let me tell you, with some chicken broth or chicken bouillon, if you have cans of mixed vegetables, double this dumpling dough and you've got a hearty broth. If you want to add, you know, season it how you like, a hearty broth with boiled dumplings and mixed vegetables, that is definitely something that you can make if you do not have the resources for canned meat or even fresh meat. You guys, when you're creating meals, it's really not time for being authentic. It's not time for, you know, looking at your ingredients and saying, oh, this is not the original way to make it. Look, when it's time to feed your family, do what you've got to do. So if you've got to double this dumpling dough to create a dumpling vegetable soup, so be it. All right, so this is crumbled in. So now another pantry item that I keep all the time in stock, and you might also have, is evaporated milk. If you've got whole milk in the fridge, perfect. And if you've got no milk at all, guess what? Use water. It's gonna work. So this is around 3/4 cup. I'm just gonna mix this in. I might not use it all. I'm gonna just kind of I used a half cup to start, and I'm just going to mix it with my hands. Okay, so I only added half a cup of the evaporated milk to my cup and 1 3/4 cup of, flour. But I want these to be a little bit drier, so I'm gonna sprinkle in another 1/4 cup, and that'll help the dough come together. So in all, I'd say 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Today I'm kind of eyeballing this recipe, but I promise I will put it in the description below to give you a more accurate recipe. But I saw that comment, and I've really been going like, you know what, I need to get this recipe video out there for them, because I know little things like that, even though I'm thinking, oh, it's just chicken and dumplings, but I understand that you guys watch these videos and it really does help you. It helps you out, it gives you ideas, even if you're not making this exact recipe. That's what it's about. That's why I like sharing recipes. You don't have to do it exactly how I do it, and it might not even be something you're familiar with, or, I know I get a lot of comments, that's not how you make it, that's not what that is, but you know what? When you're trying to feed your family, who cares? Just make and use what you've got. Okay, so I'm gonna let that hang out and rest, and then I'm just gonna roll it out, dust the work surface, and I'll show you how I cut them into little, squares. Some flour. Just make sure the dough is coated in the flour. That'll help it not stick. So now I'm just going to roll this out. But all I'm going to do is just cut. You can cut them into squares, strips. Heck, you could actually just not even roll it out and just pinch off the dough into the simmering, boiling broth. But I'm just gonna cut through this, and pretty much this is what it's gonna look like. I'm just gonna make, little square. And in my recipe video that I've done before for chicken and dumplings, I actually make a wet batter and use a scooper and just drop little drops of the dough. But this is just another way to do it. So I'm going to continue the process and just cut out all my dumplings. Okay, so here I've been preheating my pot. I added a little over 1/4 cup of cooking oil to this, and over a medium heat, I am going to saute a small piece of onion. This was actually a really small onion, but if you have a medium onion, maybe a quarter of it, just dice it up. And I had 1 or 2 celery sticks that I diced, and I'm just going to saute that. Going to give it a pinch of salt and saute until my onions and celery are softened and translucent. So I drained it, but I kind of want to warm this through, so I'm going to add my cans of chicken into the pot. I mean, it's cooked through, so you're not really going crazy with cooking it, but like I said, it kind of had like that solidified chicken fat, it seemed. So that's 3 cans, and each can is a 5-ounce can. I'm not really going to break it apart too much, because eventually it will sort of break apart. Give that a mix. Now I'm going to add in some flour. I'm going to add in, let's see, 1, 2, I'm going to do 4 tablespoons. I think 4 tablespoons will do the trick. It's not really going to create this creamy, thick broth, but it'll help give it a little more something to the dish. It'll make it heartier. So now I'm just going to work in the flour, create a roux. Okay, so I'm also going to add some chicken bouillon powder. I'm going to add, let's see, I'm going to do like 2.5 to 3 tablespoons. It's really to taste, but that was about 2½ tablespoons. And I'm just gonna sort of mix it in with my roux. I'm gonna, start with like 1½ cups to 2 cups and work that into the roux. Kind of get it creamy and lump-free. By the way, hot roux, room temperature to cold liquid equals no lumps. I'm gonna add the rest of that. I have the heat up there. I'm going to add another ½ liter. So in all, that's 2 liters. 2 liters of water. That's around a little over 8 cups of water into that. And that will create a lovely broth for this soup, dumpling soup dish there. Okay, so this is definitely where I want it to be. And at this point, you'll want to taste for salt, seasoning, anything like that. So what I'm going to do is add my drained can of vegetables. Oops. It should come back up to simmer, but I'm going to start adding my dough here. And this is what it looks like. So yeah, just kind of add it one by one. This will come back up to simmer again. I'm going to crank up the heat. The burner here is kind of small. So yeah, and you just want to add them one by one so they're kind of separated when they hit the simmering broth. Okay, so all of my dough is added. Pretty much everything is in the pot. The salt and seasoning is spot on in my opinion, but definitely check your broth and your seasoning. I am going to add some pepper. The broth simmer for another 10 to 15 minutes. And I had leftover evaporated milk from when I was making the dough. I'm gonna add it right into this pot. This will just make it creamy. And that is not necessarily something that you have to do. I'm just trying to utilize what I had left in that cup. There we go. So just let that continue to simmer and gently boil for another 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. So this has been cooking or simmering and boiling for about 15 minutes, and this is done. And if you want it to go longer, or if you want to add, extra cans of meat, extra vegetables, it's really just a versatile thing that you can do to create more, to feed many. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.